Shalom, and welcome back to Bnei Noach Academy, Thoughts on Life. Please remember to hit the like button, to subscribe, and most importantly, to share this insight and inspiration with friends and family. So as a continuation to our series about the Bet HaMikdash, the Holy Temple, and this is, of course, in observance of the 9 days, Tisha B'Av, 9th of Av, which is the anniversary of the destruction of the Holy Temple, to appreciate more what this amazing place means and meant to us and how we can apply it to our lives. So there's a tractate in the Talmud that's called Pirkei Avot, literally translated the chapters of the fathers or the ethics of the fathers. Now this has very, very many interesting things. In chapter 5, paragraph 5, that's Mishnah 5, is an interesting descriptions of 10 of the miracles, the many miracles, but the 10 major miracles that took place in the Holy Temple. You see, the Torah says that 3 times a year, all men were obligated to come to pay pilgrimage to the Holy Temple. And it says there to come and see. Your face should be seen. Well, you had to be seen there, but you also came to see. Think about it. Anytime they came to the Holy Temple, they got a spiritual, so to speak, battery charge. Their spiritual reservoirs were filled up. You see, there's one thing to have faith in God, to believe in God. There's another thing to see godliness. When they came to the Holy Temple and saw and experienced all the miracles there firsthand, this they saw in an embodiment of material and physical existence. This wasn't something which was extraordinary or detached from reality. This was like as if this is part of the reality. And this inspired them that when they went back home, they were able to better serve God with that spiritual charge that they got while being there in Jerusalem, experiencing all that experienced in the Holy Temple. So these 10 miracles were very significant. One of them is something very powerful. It says, Omdim tzfufim umishtachavim revachim, that when they stood that so squashed together, almost you can say like sardines. I mean, you think about it, if you read a description of how big the place was, I mean, it was quite a large edifice, but still, it could not contain the hundreds of thousands, if not millions of pilgrims that came comfortably, right? Obviously, there was no seating. You weren't allowed to sit in the Holy Temple. It was just standing room only. But even so, Omdim Tzfufim, they stood all squashed together, pressed against each other. But yet, when it came to those moments, and that they had to bow, when were those moments? Those moments were when they heard the high priest pronouncing God's holy name in its correct way of pronunciation, which we are not privy to today, because we don't have the ability to do so, nor are we allowed to. When they heard God's name being pronounced, they had to bow and prostrate themselves, literally stretch out on the ground. Question is, how do they do that? If they were pressed against each other, bodies pressed against each other, not even space for a pin to pass through, how could they possibly have the space to do so? Says the Mishnah, says the Talmud, Omdim Tzfufim, when they stood pressed together, squashed together, but when they bowed, when they prostrated themselves, there was broad space. Yet when they bowed, they had room enough. This is a tremendous miracle. And this, not that the walls moved, but within the confined space of the temple, however big or small it was, the walls didn't move, and yet miraculously, there was a certain sense of infinity. Everybody suddenly had the space. But here is the question that's asked. Beautiful miracle. It's a fantastic one. Certainly, definitely something that can inspire. I'm sure it inspires you just hearing about it. Imagine experiencing it. However, the question is, if God can perform that miracle, which obviously he did, that they should be able to bow with enough room around them and prostrate themselves, then why couldn't he just make a miracle that all the time when they stood there, they should just stand comfortably with room, with space around them? Why is it that while they stood there, they stood pressed together but only when they had to prostrate and bow and prostrate themselves did this suddenly the miracle, so to speak, make room for them and make it possible for them to do so. Think of it this way. The answer is that in the normal mode of existence, the normal mode of being, quote, before God, is that you have to feel the next person near you. You can't just create your own space and just push everyone away and have your own room, so to speak, your own comfort, while not feeling the other person. However, when it comes to certain moments, when the law, when the tradition requires you to do such and such, and for that you need the space, God will provide the space. In other words, in the normal mode of things, a person cannot just lock themselves up and live isolated from society and just care about their own connection with God and their own purity and their own piety, and not be concerned about what's going on around them. That is not a way to serve God. That is not a way to be subservient and devoted to God. When, however, you have those moments where you need your privacy, so to speak, with the Almighty, you need to have your moments of reflection, or I can say those spiritual, intimate moment, yes, God will provide you that. Then you're allowed to, and you should create, so to speak, your own quiet space, your own personal space. But as a normal rule, as a regular mode of living, one needs to be involved in the world. One needs to be, so to speak, pressed against the other person, feel what's going on in society, not isolate themselves from it.